showdown at the National Assembly involving the senator representing Kogi Central, Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, topped the trends on Tuesday. Natasha was denied entry into the National Assembly complex in Abuja despite her vow to resume sitting after a court asked the Senate to recall her from a 6-month suspension. When she arrived at the National Assembly, she was initially stopped by security operatives at the first gate. She then alighted from her car and proceeded on foot, accompanied by supporters, including activist Aisha Yesufu. However, she was stopped again at the second gate, which was locked against her. She took the opportunity to address the press, stating, among other complaints, that some of the senators who are against her should be in jail. Let's take a look.
The fact that I've been denied entrance is a statement being made. Our narratives are being shaped, history is being formed and shaped, and policies, again, all of this work together through intentional actions like we have done today. It's on record that the National Assembly under Akpabio has decided to be in contempt of the court's decisions. And it's quite ironic because they are actually lawmakers. So that puts to question how far and how ripe is Nigeria's democracy in this day and age. And Nigerians should know that I am not facing charges of corruption, I'm not facing charges of embezzlement, I'm not facing charges of drug abuse, and neither am I facing charges of murder. And it's ironic that the people who are actually testifying as witnesses in the 2 federal government cases have cases at EFCC, have files at EFCC on record that they have actually embezzled state funds running into billions. So it's really, let me say this, it's very important I do mention the flip of our judicial system, the flip of how institutions are being utilized to oppress people who are innocent. If this is a country that if Nigeria works, if our institutions are truly independent and strengthened, then there's no reason why some of these fellows who sit there as senators should even be in the Senate in the first place. They should actually be behind bars, and I'm saying that. And I do pray and hope that it is by my actions today and by voices of Nigerians all around, whether in the country or in diaspora, that we speak up and ensure that this injustice that is being meted against me, this persecution meted against me, will not stand.
All right, you know, there's been a lot of reactions, some against and some for Natasha Akpoti's appearance at the National Assembly. And I'll take this one from Pragmatic DB. They wrote, Natasha and theatrics are Siamese twins. She knows she will not be admitted, but wants to create drama. Congratulations, Natasha, for giving social media content. But lawmaking is not about creating scenes and drama. Unfortunately, Natasha is making things worse for herself. Those advising and encouraging her to double down on these types of things, to take this line of action, are her arch enemies. She will realize this one day. Well, another ex-user wrote, in support, I love this woman for her bravery and her firm resolve to stand against injustice and oppression. If you are in the opposite side of the political spectrum, be fierce and firm in your opposing views, not like others that chicken out to offer support to the ruling party, of course, APC, so they could retain their coveted position in 2027. Shades. Such are driven by the love for power, not by altruism. If we have more of her kind in the Nigerian polity, things would have been different. Dr. Abati, you said that you'd like to clarify some of her statements that she made there. We know that the Senate president has appealed the judge's ruling, and I believe she had brought out the appeal saying that it is not the National Assembly that appealed her judgment, it was Senator Godswill Akpabio. Your thoughts?
Okay, it seems to me that this whole drama is unfortunate. There's too much theatrics, with one party going on appeal, with another party also threatening to go on appeal. Now, the best place to resolve the matter is in the court of law. It's not in the media, it's not on the streets. However, I think that the whole argument is about the interpretation of the ruling of the court. And we have found ourselves in a situation in this country whereby the ruling of the judiciary is subject to various interpretations. Lawyers will not always agree anyway, but I think that judges need to be very clear in what they say about particular cases. Now, Justice Bitan Yako is a highly experienced justice, but in this particular case, you have Senator Yemi Adaramodu, spokesman of the Senate, saying what the judge said is that she said, in my opinion. And I've said here that there's a difference between what a judge says, by the way, and what is the main substance of the case. Now, we have had judges in this country in the days of Irikefe, Esho, Okuta, Bello, who will go and say, we are activist judges. This is what we say, no matter whose ox is God. But if you look at the CTC, the certified true copy of that statement, the judge talks about Section 60, about A.G. Bendel versus A.G. Bendel versus A.G. Bendel and 20 others versus A.G. Federation and all of that. Section 60, which gives the Senate powers to regulate its own affairs, and just express an opinion about 180 days. And then said, in my opinion, I think you should look at your laws. An activist judge would just say, look, I affirm, I insist, I declare, I direct. Judges give declarative, injunctive, positive orders. In that ruling, there was no declarative or positive order given on that particular matter. So you find lawyers on both sides doing their own interpretations.
I thought Yemi said that there was a directive order saying that Natasha had to apologize.
No, that's the directive order, which is what we have said is a ratio in this particular case. So even the complainant, even the affected party in this case, she has not apologized. Mm-hmm. She has not done the newspaper rulings, because there's also some vagueness about who the apology should be directed to. The Facebook satire that Senator Nakotie Uduaghan put out, the main victim is Akpabio and the Senate. Now, again, the judge was very careful, just say, oh, this is contempt to the court. I think our judges need to be more activist, they need to be more assertive, and this is not me criticizing Senator Bitan Yako, but I think the ambiguity in many of these rulings creates a situation whereby, litigants will now start interpreting the law and all of that. But whatever it is, the best place to seek clarity is still the law.
All right.
It's still the law court, not on the streets. And that brings me to my final point, which is as follows. Senator Natasha Akpoti mobilizing street urchins to storm the national...
Who are the street urchins? Dr. Batoya.
Well, I saw some people, behaving like street urchins.
Okay.
Going to the National Assembly, I think it's also wrong. Because within the purview of the law, it amounts to self-help. It amounts to taking the laws into your hands.
Right.
Whatever the interpretation of the law on either side, it does not lie in your powers to enforce the law.
Right.
If you see any ambiguity, as I've said, resulting from the nature of the ruling, you go back to the same court.
Right.
And I think all of us should operate within the purview of the rule of law, not resort to self-help, and not mobilize street urchins to enforce whatever our interpretation of the law is.
Signing out.